Part 26. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 251. The Emperor almost got angry. You are so brave, what are you talking about? Are you even willing to kill my children? The Emperor is sure that this child is not a bastard. Could it be that he knew that the demon concubine was pregnant? Could it be that because the demon concubine is pregnant, you are afraid that people will find out in the palace and will cause dissatisfaction among the people again, so you settle for the next best thing? The demon concubine was sent to Ganlu Temple. Prince Hung stared at the Emperor with narrowed eyes. So the Emperor is still thinking about the demon concubine, and has been perfunctory with us recently? The Emperor has no intention of changing his mind, he just did it as a last resort, right? The Emperor was a little dumbfounded. He naturally knew that Yerukia was pregnant. But he only found out about it more than half a month ago. It's just that he was depressed a while ago and drank every day. When he doted on Kyokyo alone, he was inevitably negligent. There were probably a few times when he forgot to tell her to take medicine. Unexpectedly, the child came at this time. But his plan is already progressing smoothly. Maybe this child will come at the right time. So he kept pretending to be deaf and dumb. Tomorrow is the day the hunt begins. The day after tomorrow, he will make a big plan. After finally maintaining stability until now, he cannot let this incident cause any trouble and affect the overall plan. The Emperor suppressed his dissatisfaction with Prince Hung. I don't know. Prince Hung is worrying too much. I respect all the elders and will never be perfunctory. Prince Hung is such a troublemaker. He can't see his own good every time. Wait until the day after tomorrow to see how he ranks first. Just take Prince Hung for surgery. It's better that the Emperor doesn't know. Since the demon concubine was not detected to be pregnant when she was in the palace, then the child will naturally not be the Emperor's. Therefore, neither the demon concubine nor the child can be kept, Prince Hung said. And all the adults also expressed their agreement. It's too late tonight. Early tomorrow morning, please ask the Queen to bring someone to confirm the physical condition of the demon concubine. Let the Queen decide everything. Everyone thought it was true again. The Emperor gritted his teeth and failed to say no in front of everyone. The Emperor, who returned to the courtyard, was furious. Why were you suddenly discovered? You bunch of losers, I asked you to protect concubine Qiu, is this how you protect her? The secret guard knelt down and returned. In the afternoon, the abbot went to talk to Empress Qiu. Who would have thought that there were people from the Queen in the abbot's room? At that time, they went up and covered Empress Qiu's mouth. Our people couldn't get in and had no idea what was going on inside. Empress Qiu was forcibly picked up. Pulse, that's how you confirm pregnancy. Queen again, the Emperor smashed the tea set on the table. But why did the Queen suspect concubine Shankaiu? Empress Qiu said that she met a group of ladies who were offering incense today, so she went to say a few words, which probably exposed the truth. The Emperor was speechless. He had already told Kyokyo to be cautious in his words and deeds, so how could something like this happen again? How could his Kyokyo, who was so kind and simple, outsmart the scheming Queen? But it's just an accident. At this juncture, something happened to Kyokyo, and he almost thought that something was wrong. But what to do? Tomorrow, Kyokyo will be taken to the palace. At that time, based on the Queen's hostility towards Kyokyo, she will undoubtedly die. But others are in the paddock, and there is definitely no way they can go back to save them. And his plan still had 2 days to go. How could this come in time? So, he must do something tomorrow. Either stop the people going to Ganlu Temple, protect Kyokyo from being caught, or control the Queen first. But once he does that, it will be equivalent to breaking up with those traitors and thieves. Wouldn't it directly affect the plan for the day after tomorrow? So, there is probably only one way. He had to advance his plans. He might as well start tomorrow. Beijing and Wickham take action together. Then, there is no need to worry about revealing the truth. The emperor immediately felt that this idea was feasible. The hunt will start at dawn tomorrow, and the people sent out by the palace to catch Kyokyou will have to wait until at least 9 o'clock, right? In short, by the time Prince Hung receives the letter from the palace, it will probably be noon. If you're lucky, it might already be afternoon. At that time, each hunting team should have gone deep into the paddock and would not be able to come back quickly. His actions were carried out directly, a little too hastily, so it shouldn't be a big problem. The emperor summoned his secret guard chief and ordered him to take half of his men to the vicinity of Ganlu Temple and half of his men to keep an eye on the queen. Look for opportunities to act tomorrow. Why don't we do it tonight? No, then everyone will know that I took away concubine Xiu. If those guys get angry with me again, they may not only cancel the hunting plan, but also ignore me again or even destroy him. So, it must be tomorrow, just make a time difference. But if that's the case, our brothers may not be able to come back in time to protect the emperor tomorrow. No need. I have my own bodyguards, moreover, he also has a trump card. As long as it is revealed, the winning rate will be greatly increased. You must rescue concubine Xiu at all costs. No need to be polite to the queen's people. You should work harder and send people to keep an eye on the palace earlier. If the queen has more people, you can also increase your manpower and fight directly. Don't worry about me. Wait. After rescuing concubine Xiu, your people don't have to rush here, the safety of concubine Xiu is the top priority. Yes. Also, try not to do anything at Ganlu Temple. The emperor still cares about the voice of the people. There was a mass killing in the Buddhist Pure Land, but it was his and Kyokyou's reputation that ultimately suffered. They want to create a prosperous era and cannot lose their reputation. The emperor was determined, and gradually his anxiety turned into excitement. He didn't sleep that night. He will definitely win this plan. The emperor would never know that someone was waiting for him to act in advance. Although the emperor did not reveal the entire plan to Tao Ran, from what he revealed, Tao Ran knew that he was fully prepared. If they really let him go as planned, even if they can take advantage of his plan and counterattack him, the price they pay will definitely be high. This emperor is cruel. What if he takes advantage of the opportunity to kill in the paddock? What if you use this opportunity to kill the thorn in your side? She can't gamble. Therefore, we can't let him go smoothly. Yerukyu just happened to use it. They are true love, right? In the past, the ministers and people had tried their best to protect Yerukyu when they forced him to do so, so this time he would never ignore her. Yerukyu was cultivating. The reason why the queen did not take action was not because she was soft-hearted, but because the emperor placed too many people around Yerukyu. In the Pure Land of Buddhism, the queen does not want to do anything ugly. Therefore, the queen put all her efforts into placing people in Ganlu Temple. The Chen family is a well-known family. Several generations of the Chen family donate large sums of money for sesame oil to Ganlu Temple every year. They also have a good relationship with the abbot. So they kept an eye on Yerukyu early in the morning. Yerukyu has been feeling hungry and vomiting recently, and the secret guards arranged for someone to take her pulse, so they already knew about her pregnancy, but they just kept pressing it without feeling it. 2 days ago, after Tao Ran sent the news to the queen took action. In order to prevent the emperor from noticing that someone was playing tricks, they specially arranged for several ladies to go to the back mountain to enjoy the maple leaves, and used the talk of hunting to attract Yerukyu. Yerukyu had not seen the emperor for many days. She was afraid that she would be deprived of his favor. After she heard about presenting beauties, she couldn't help but show up. On the other hand, when the abbot heard that someone in her temple was suspected of having done something unclean and became pregnant, in order to protect the Pure Land of Buddhism, he naturally agreed to the queen's cooperation, and this was the tempting thing to take a pulse. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 252. Tao Ran and the queen cooperated in this act in order to make the emperor lose his position. Sure enough, the emperor was fooled and directly advanced the plan. Very good. In this way, there are many variables. For example, the emperor had to take action before the hunting party could enter the hinterland of the paddock. For example, the emperor's layout and response time will be greatly shortened. For example, the emperor had to allocate part of his manpower to Yerukiu, and even to keep an eye on and deal with the queen. This is very important. It not only weakens the emperor's power, but also makes the emperor, who has fewer manpower, rely more on the Yu family. In addition, once the emperor takes action in Beijing and the queen has a name, she can easily organize a counterattack. Therefore, Daoran was actually more excited than the emperor. If she plays this well, her mission may be completed. Once the emperor's seizure of power begins, neither the officials nor the royal family will tolerate him anymore, and he will be completely finished. The night passed. Before dawn, the hunting teams were assembled and each entered the paddock to choose a direction to start hunting. The emperor himself led a team, followed by 500 of his most trusted personal guards. King Ning and several generals also led a team each. Among the officials and the royal family, anyone who knew some martial arts basically entered the paddock. The internal defense of the paddock is the responsibility of the royal guards. At this time, nearly 10,000 royal guards have been distributed throughout the paddock. As for the affairs of the palace, they were left to Prince Hung to coordinate. In order not to make the guests who did not participate in the hunting boring, various arrangements were made in the palace. Even though the emperor is not here, there are still big banquets in the palace. After the emperor's team entered the paddock, they walked along the outer perimeter where the terrain was the gentlest. The emperor planned to wait on two nearby hills. When the time came, he would lead the team and rush out of the paddock, catching the palace by surprise first. Today is a sunny day with no clouds in the sky. It looks like a good day. He was in high spirits and just wished that time would pass faster. In the capital, the emperor's secret guards did not expect that the queen in the palace would take action before dawn. They didn't even expect that the queen was really generous for Yerukiu. In addition to mobilizing 300 guards, she also mobilized 500 people from Shuntian Mansion. A full 800 people? The secret guards were shocked. As for that, are you going to such great lengths of war just over a pregnant woman? They also tasted it. The reason why the queen mobilized people from Shuntian Mansion was not because there was insufficient manpower in the palace, but because she had a great purpose. The people in Shuntian Mansion are multi-minded and belong to local officers and soldiers. The birth and living environment of these people are too complicated. What they know is equivalent to the whole capital knowing it. The queen is so cruel. Asking the Shuntian Mansion to cooperate would be tantamount to telling the people of the entire capital that the demon concubine in Ganlu Temple was pregnant. And whenever they meet the queen's people, they will undoubtedly tell everyone in the capital that even if the emperor becomes a cuckold again, he will still protect the enchanting concubine. In this way, the public outrage this time will be much greater than last time. The queen wants to make the emperor lose face, ruin the emperor's reputation, and make Yerukiu's reputation even more ruined. She will never be able to climb up. The queen left no escape route for the emperor. The secret guard chief frowned. So, do they really want to confront the queen's 800 people? It's not that they are afraid of having no chance of winning, but that they are afraid of a river of blood. Is it necessary? Whether they are the guards in the palace or the officers and soldiers in the capital, they are all our own people, right? The secret guard captain felt unhappy. After all, the original intention of Taizong to set up secret guards was not to let them fight among themselves. The secret guard commander didn't want to go on a killing spree and made a decision immediately. Gather our manpower, go to Ganlu temple before these 800 people, and escort Qiu Fei away. If they strike first, they can avoid a meaningless fight. Everything is going smooth. The 200 secret guards quickly went up the mountain, and in only 2/4 of an hour, without any loss, they brought Yerukiu out and stuffed her into the carriage. A group of people protected the carriage and rushed out as fast as possible. However, when they reached the foot of the mountain and were about to pass through the forest, they discovered that the forest was densely packed with arrows aimed at them. There are at least 2,000 people. Everyone couldn't help but smile bitterly, so the other party had been waiting here for a long time. Just wait for them to leave the scope of Ganlu temple and catch them all. 10 against 1, the opponent also has long-range weapons, and their winning rate is almost non-existent. To make matters worse, his men took a look after climbing the tree and told him, there are officers and soldiers coming from the outside. The captain of the guard climbed up the tree and took a look, and it was true. This is not just 2,000, but at least 4,000. The emperor wanted to catch the cicada by surprise, but in fact, it was the queen who really wanted the mantis to catch the cicada, right? The queen already knew they would come to the rescue. So he had been dormant nearby for a long time, waiting for them to assemble and bring Qiu Fei, so that they could not fly. It's a shame that in this situation, they couldn't even notify the emperor. With so many arrows pointing at them, even the pigeons can't fly out. Ling Feng, what are you doing? A female voice came, and the corner of the guard's lips twitched. From the forest dozens of feet away, who was walking out protected by the left and right, who else could it be if she wasn't the queen? On that day, the late emperor handed over the secret guard to the emperor in front of the empress. Empress Chen had met Ling Feng at that time. So although she didn't know the other secret guards, she knew Ling Feng. The captain of the guard was called by name, so he could only lead a group of secret guards to greet the queen. Under this situation, facing the empress and the officers and soldiers from all walks of life in the capital, they felt unspeakably uncomfortable. Very good, it's good that you all know me. On behalf of the imperial court and the royal family, I am here to capture the demon concubine. The queen took out the booklet that exposed Yerukiu. This document has been approved by the 4 ministers of Guming and Prince Hung of the royal family, stamped by the emperor, and handed over to me. I must capture the demon concubine today. Ling Feng, you are disobeying the imperial court and the royal family now. Is this considered treason? Who gave you the right to take away the demon concubine from Ganlu temple? Ling Feng now just wants to change his name to Ling Luan. The queen is so cruel. In just 3 sentences, they will be labeled as rebels. It would be disloyal for them to betray the emperor. If they act according to the emperor's wishes, they will be disobedient and offend the royal family and the court at the same time. No matter what you do, it's wrong. Queen, Ling Feng, since I have come forward, I am giving you a chance. If you hand over the demon concubine, I will not pursue you this time. But if you insist on going your own way, you will be against the entire imperial court. The imperial court will you pursue it to the end, and by then, you will be hunted by the whole world. Ling Feng hasn't spoken yet, but Yerukiu is going crazy. The recent days have been too difficult. She was on tenterhooks every day, fearing that she would be killed and that the emperor would change his mind. She was locked up in this ungrateful place, without even a piece of meat to eat. Day by day, she could no longer survive. She is also pregnant. She can't eat what she wants or can't eat. She feels like vomiting when she drinks water. Her skin is dull and her complexion is sallow. She doesn't look like a human being or a ghost. She has endured so much, isn't she just waiting for today? Give her to the queen? Will she be eaten alive? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 253. The reason why Yerukia could endure the humiliation and bear the burden until now was because she wanted to be the queen. The emperor told her that day that when he sent someone to pick her up, he was there to welcome her back to the palace and make her his queen. She has been waiting for this day in her dreams. But who would have thought that these useless secret guards would be intimidated by the queen with just a few words? She was so angry. I thought they were all loyal. What a disappointment. Are they worthy of the emperor? Chief of the secret guards. What are you thinking? Do you still have a conscience? You are the emperor's man, how can you be bewitched by the queen? Aren't you secret guards all outstanding, 1 against 10? They are just officers and soldiers with three-legged cat kung fu. You draw your swords and rush forward to break the blood. You are so powerful, how can you not protect me? Isn't the mission entrusted to you by the emperor to rescue me at all costs? Are you planning to be disloyal to the emperor? Aren't you afraid that the emperor will punish you? Yerukia was so panicked that she spoke indiscriminately and didn't notice at all. Ling Feng and other secret guards all frowned. Kill the bloody path, no matter the cost? Really? Fight with fellow compatriots? Regardless of casualties? Regardless of the cost? Are they unfaithful? They are loyal and know that they are the emperor's people, so they have always firmly protected the emperor, right? It was Zongzin who knew she was a demon concubine, but they still tried to find a way to rescue her, right? If they were disloyal, they would have stayed away from the right and wrong that they are doing now. Their lives were lives, not dispensable. It was fine to let them die for a woman, but it was too much to let them fight with the brothers from the Yamen for no reason. Come to think of it, is it possible that the situation in front of us was not caused by this demon concubine? Now that their lives and futures were about to end because of her, she had the nerve to scold them. Ling Feng, I know you are in trouble compared to Yerukia, the queen was much more dignified. Everyone can see this contrast. Queen. I understand the rules of your secret guards. You are the people left by the late emperor to the emperor. Your task is to obey the emperor's orders. Otherwise, you are disloyal. But the reason why I did not take action is because I do not want to expose myself. Scenes of massacre appeared. They are all the pillars of the country. They have learned a skill, not for internal fighting. They should go to protect their homes and the country. I never want to see fratricide happen. Because no matter who wins, they actually lose. Ling Feng, what do you think? The queen's words hit Ling Feng's heart, and he made a fist. The queen asked again, can I take a step to speak? Yerukia became even more anxious, no. Captain, the queen is lying to you. Don't go. Ling Feng thought about it, it was very likely that he would die today, and he was still worried that the queen would deceive him. He walked out. Yerukia was so angry that she grabbed the fan and threw it out, hitting Ling Feng hard on the back of the head. You want to surrender to the queen? You want to rebel? Do you dare to rebel? She screamed. The emperor will chop off your head. Destroy your clan. Kill you rebels. Ling Feng's steps lagged behind, but he obviously moved a few minutes faster towards the queen. In fact, he didn't understand what was so good about this enchanting concubine that she fascinated the emperor so much. Is such a person worth losing so many lives of their brothers? Ling Feng stopped 10 feet away from the queen and bowed. The queen also took 2 steps forward. Ling Feng, you are the secret guard commander. You have seen the situation. You should know that you are now destined to lose. So your persistence is meaningless. Instead of breaking out with huge casualties, you can fight with our warriors after a bloody fight, being cursed by the whole world, and being accused of injustice. Why not stand on the side of the imperial court, Turn the conflict into friendship, and minimize the casualties. Even if it is just for the sake of the brothers behind you. I can retreat, but I beg you, Queen, please never hold the brothers behind me accountable. I can guarantee that. Ling Feng suddenly knelt down on one knee, then I just want to die. Once my subordinate dies, the entire secret guard will be leaderless, and the court will naturally take over. But if my subordinate does not die, I am really ashamed of the emperor and the late emperor. I cannot allow the secret guards to bear the name of disloyalty. I hope the queen will fulfill her wish. The current secret guards are either disloyal or unjust, which is a dilemma. Then he will bear the name of disloyalty in order to obtain the greatest protection. The queen gave a signal to go down, and her guard stepped forward, drew his sword, and struck out with the sword. When the sword wind came, Ling Feng closed his eyes and waited for death, but his wrist went numb and the knife in his hand was knocked to the ground. The queen had already walked 3 feet in front of him and lowered her voice, "Why are you dying? The secret guards are loyal to the previous emperors. Do you think that I can surround you here, but whoever has an agenda in the paddock, the emperor, will he still be the emperor? Since he is not the emperor, why should they still be loyal to that person?" Ling Feng was stunned again, and the dimness in his eyes gradually became brighter. "Yes, isn't it? The emperor has obviously exposed his secrets. The empress, the officials and the people cannot tolerate him, so the emperor has been defeated. When the new emperor comes up, they will secretly guard him. They are loyal to the new emperor." It was almost noon, hundreds of miles away, and the emperor gradually led his team back. "Everything is going well, except for a little bit. Why haven't you received any news from Jingzhong until now? Did the secret guard have a conflict with the queen's people? Or was it because the guards in the paddock were tightly guarded that the news could not be sent in? Who cares? The arrow is on the string and it has already been forced to be fired. Nothing can prevent him from taking action at this moment. Look at the time, there's a luncheon being held in another courtyard right now, it's almost over." On this point, the emperor thought quite well. In the palace, the banquet was in full swing. However, suddenly, the sound of horse hooves came from outside, getting closer and closer. The sound of horse hooves seemed to step on people's hearts, causing people to panic for no reason. The lively noise in the room was startled by the sudden noise, and everyone's eyes were directed towards the main hall door. But what they saw was the guards who had suddenly evacuated completely and the palace door that was closed. The next moment, all the windows were closed. Everyone was shocked to realize that something was wrong, but then they realized that they were a little weak. One or two, both are like this. He was weak, and his body seemed to have been drained of strength. They have Chinese medicine. Looking around, there are only a few female relatives who do not drink alcohol and no traditional Chinese medicine. All doors and windows were locked from the outside. It's very noisy outside. All kinds of noises. There were sounds of fighting, threats, and screams. Through the flowered windows, they could see the chaos outside. All the people in the palace were driven to one side, and the servants outside were being taken away by guards with swords raised. Guards in black armor could be seen everywhere. They have replaced the royal guards who were originally responsible for the defense of this palace. Black armor? This is the attire of the emperor's personal guards. Emperor? Isn't that person, standing in the open space outside the palace hall, directing the actions, their emperor? The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 254. The emperor who was hunting is back. Many people are confused. What is the emperor doing? Why lock them up? They beat the hall door hastily. The emperor only turned his head slightly when he heard the sound, and then turned away again. A quarter of an hour later, the emperor's people who had made the layout in the palace completed the internal and external coordination and took all control of the entire palace. All the original guards and slaves in the palace were captured. Then the door of the main hall was opened, and the emperor led people in. At this moment, the emperor's aura had changed drastically. The black armor exudes a cold light, his eyebrows are indifferent, and his eyes are full of contempt and hatred. How can he still have the humility and courtesy when he set off 3 hours ago? "What is your majesty going to do?" a minister asked. The emperor sneered, "Isn't it obvious?" There was silence in the hall, and there was a constant sound of gasping. "Why are you doing this? Is this worthy of the late emperor? Why not? Do I still look like an emperor? I'm at the end of my rope. I don't want to be a puppet. I have to protect my own country, my own women and children. You guys forced me to take this step. Your Majesty, please stop." "I will stop, but only after you retreat." The emperor gestured in the direction of Prince Hung, and a knife appeared on Prince Hung's neck. "Uncle Emperor, you are not young and can take care of yourself. You don't need to worry about the royal family's affairs. You don't need to worry about my affairs." The emperor gave another signal to go down, and the 4 ministers who took care of life and their wives and children who came to the paddock to relax also had knives on their necks. "You guys have worked hard on state affairs for so many years, and it's time to go home and entertain your grandchildren. I'm an adult, and I can handle political affairs myself." The emperor went to the side of several elder leaders. "You guys, you can take a break. You old people are too dictating. If you are obedient, you can still keep your wealth. Otherwise, I cannot guarantee that your glory can continue. The emperor knows what he is doing. If you do this, you will be insulted by future generations, and you will." "Shut up." The emperor was sober. In ancient times, Zhao Taizha released his power over a cup of wine. Today I follow my example a little. People in future generations will not scold me, but will only praise me. Therefore, all of you who are wise, please take the initiative to take off your black gauze hat, put down the power in your hands, and write down for yourself, resign and return home. While they were talking, pen and ink were placed on everyone's desks. "What if we don't obey?" Prince Hung asked. "No. I heard that your son, my cousin, and the prince are also in the hunting team, right?" The emperor raised his eyebrows. "Aren't you worried about him? Also, you are in charge of the clan. Can you bear to watch me and my brothers fight against each other? Are you worthy of my father?" The emperor's eyes glanced lightly at his 2 young brothers who were already frightened. "Aren't those old guys always surrounding the 2 children? I heard that they are still looking for a master for those 2 little things recently. Ha, these 2 brothers must be eliminated this time. Otherwise, if you keep them until they grow up, it will be even more of a disaster. Also, can you bear to have this room full of people buried with you? Your Majesty, do you know what you are talking about and what you are doing? The cunning rabbit is dead and the lackey is cooking. I am not the first, nor will I be the last. I am very sober. The emperor can't succeed. If you do this, the guards in the paddock will soon know about it. The generals inside the paddock will arrive soon, and they will. Okay. Don't take any chances. Let's put it this way, all the situation is under my control at this moment." The emperor walked to the front, faced everyone, and sat down in front of the long main table. He looked at the earth-colored people and felt very happy. It's a waste that he has been the emperor for so many years, but only now can he experience this wonderful feeling of being superior. Raise your arms and take possession of life and death, that is the fun of being an emperor. These bitches had trampled him under their feet before, and now it was finally his turn to recover the debt bit by bit. Since I chose to take action, the arrangements have naturally been made. The entire palace is now under the control of my personal guards. The entrance to the paddock and several nearby mountain roads have been captured by my people. People inside the paddock can't get out easily. The royal guards are all in the paddock, and my beloved concubine's father is helping me to contain her." The emperor looked at Yutong and put on a gentle and loving smile. Taoran would not disappoint him, and gave him a sweet smile. He was half leaning on the table, fanning himself, looking a little arrogant. Not surprisingly, he received a lot of disdainful looks. So it is impossible for the Royal Forest Army to find out what is going on here. During these 3 days, they did not dare to leave their posts without permission and leave the paddock. And everyone in the paddock will naturally not know what is going on here. They are all still there, silly and busy hunting. Therefore, Royal Forest Army, you may not be able to count on us. As for the outside of the palace, the ones responsible for patrol and security are the Jingwei. But you shouldn't have to think that they will come to help. The emperor looked at Yutong again. With Yu Hong, the deputy commander, helping me, everyone in the Jingwei is still patrolling at their posts. Not to mention that outsiders will not know what is going on in this palace, even those within the Jingwei will not know what is going on here. Something happened. As for Jingzhong, the same principle applies. Jingzhong only knows that the hunt is in progress and doesn't know anything about this. So naturally no one will come to help. When I take power and gather the Imperial Guards and Jingwei, who else will be there in Jingzhong? Dare you dissent? In addition, the old general of the Yu family should have gathered his troops by now. When the hunt is over in 5 days and he sets off to return to Beijing, the old general should have marched hundreds of miles south. Just call it his bluff. After all, with such a backer, who dares to say no to him? Even if there are remnants in the capital who are unwilling to give up, it is impossible to cause any trouble. So, you tell me, do I have any concerns? All the officials were angry when they heard this. They felt they were loyal and worried about the imperial court, but they suffered such backlash from the emperor. Who could bear it? Some ministers took action. I don't believe that the emperor is short-sighted. If the emperor dares to kill so many people in one breath, then your reputation will be ruined. The world? Am I that stupid? The emperor laughed. People in the world? How do people in the world know what happened here? How do people in the world know that I killed you? If you don't obey, I will just set fire to it. The palace will be on fire. An accident will happen, and all the problems will be solved. What does it have to do with me? What does it have to do with me? Hunting in the paddock, idiot. When the time comes, he just has to pretend to be returning from the paddock. Afterwards, he happened to use the excuse of insufficient protection of the Royal Forest Army as an excuse to punish several generals of the Royal Forest Army and replace them all with his men. Of course, this is only the second plan. He wouldn't have taken this step unless it was absolutely necessary. If they go along with his prosperity, if they go against him, he will let them perish. Everyone in this room is his bargaining chip. With them in hand, the capital will be captured as quickly as possible at the minimum cost. This is his plan. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 255. The emperor felt that his plan went almost perfectly except for the fact that Yerukia was discovered and the secret guards were transferred to the capital. He was very proud. Look, everyone who was so proud in the past is now languishing, staring at him and daring to be angry but not saying anything. What a pleasure it feels. There are timid guys who have fainted, there are guys who are secretly discussing, there are women who start sobbing and repeatedly looking at their elders, there are even some who are holding their stomachs and want to go to the toilet but dare not speak. The emperor laughed. He wanted to see if these people's bones were really hard. Soon, someone stood up and expressed that he had always been loyal to the emperor and was willing to shed his blood for the emperor. Very good, the emperor waved his sleeves and asked someone to write down the person's name. I remember Iking. Come, take Iking to the side hall to rest. The man was released from the temple just like that. My dear friends, I have seen that if you can repay me, I will treat him as one of my own and I will not treat him badly. Another person stood up carefully. He is a first and fifth rank official in the DPRK and has expressed his willingness to resign. The emperor once again radiated great goodwill. Master GE is the main pillar of the court. Instead of resigning, it is better to serve me well. King, please go to the side hall and think about it. The man was overjoyed and kowtowed to thank him. He was also freed and released from the temple. After that, one after another, several people kowtowed to the emperor and expressed their loyalty. Most of the people left in the hall were high-ranking officials and relatives of the emperor. And the emperor's target is exactly them. Everyone, how are you? Your Majesty, you have to give us some time to think about it, right? One of the ministers asked. Of course. I'll give you time. The current emperor has plenty of time. So if these guys want to delay, it makes no sense to him. As long as you are obedient, surrender, or can fully express your loyalty, I can let you go. If not, then let's see who has more patience. 3 days to go. These people were imprisoned in this palace. If they didn't starve to death, they would have to be suffocated to death by excrement and urine. They all have noble aspirations, and they don't think they would take off their belts in public. The corners of the emperor's lips rose, he was so proud. Taoran was calm and relaxed. Watching a play or watching a play, whatever the hell. The emperor's eyes were fixed on Prince Hung. He stepped forward step by step, ready to give some pain to this uncle who had repeatedly held him back. Fortunately, at this moment, someone came to report. Explain. The guard whispered in the emperor's ear. The emperor frowned slightly and could only stand up and looked at Yutong. The emperor motioned for her to come to him. In the paddock, there was a conflict between Prince Ning and Prince Jianping. There is some trouble. I will leave first. Then your Majesty, go quickly, don't worry about this place. Taoran secretly said that Prince Ning really needed it, but it saved these old ministers from suffering. Then this place will be left to the imperial concubine for the time being. I will take good care of them. The emperor flicked his sleeves and looked at everyone. I will go out first. If you want to surrender, you can report it to the imperial concubine first. My dear concubine, if they are disrespectful to you, you should hit or scold you. Don't worry about them. Identity. If anyone wants to wink at you, just punish him. It's okay to kill a chicken to scare the monkeys. The emperor patted Taoran on the shoulder, with a glint in his eyes. He wished he could kill several ministers with the help of the imperial concubine. Not only can he kill the chickens to scare the monkeys, and make these guys surrender quickly and honestly, but he can also keep his hands free of blood. In this way, after the incident, they have nothing to blame themselves for. What's more important is that as long as Yu Tong takes action, he will have more excuses to punish the Yu family later. Playing with military power, being arrogant based on favor, killing innocent people indiscriminately, murdering important officials, sending troops without permission, killing with all their hands, can all be attributed to one point: the Yu family is committing rebellion. When the news of the old general's dispatch of troops arrives, everything today can finally be blamed on the Yu family. Not only does he have no responsibility at all, he is also a wise hero who suppressed the rebellion. It's just a pity that Yu Tong, a trace of pity flashed in the emperor's eyes. For the sake of past love, I will let her die. Taoran was almost disgusted to death by the tenderness in the emperor's eyes. Scumbag. Your Majesty, just go in peace. I will send you to your Majesty. Taoran sent the person to the palace gate. Get out, get out. Get out of here. Let him know later who should beg whom and who should control whose destiny. After seeing the emperor off, Taoran turned around and found that all eyes were fixed on her. There were all kinds of complicated looks, including contempt, pity, unclear ones like Prince Hung and others, and even more hesitant words like the head of the Chen family. She smiled at everyone. Yes. When she first joined forces with the Queen, she asked the Queen to keep it a secret for her. Therefore, except for the few people in charge of the Chen family, not to mention Prince Hung and the 4 ministers who took care of life, even the other elders who had been helping the Queen did not know that she was with them. Therefore, not many people knew about her and the Queen's plan this time. There is no way, the Emperor has too many spies here in the paddock. The more people know, the more danger there is. Sure enough, after just a few breaths, Taoran was lectured by the veterans. The various righteousnesses brought out helped her recall the various meritorious deeds of the Yu family's ancestors. Taoran just smiled and said nothing. 2/4 of an hour passed, and the emperor still did not return. Taoran left the main hall and called an emperor's personal guard to question him. The personal guards knew that the imperial concubine was one of their own, so they naturally knew everything. It turned out that half an hour ago, in the paddock, Prince Jianping's team and Prince Ning's team came to the same area. The two sides fought openly and secretly, and in the end they fought for the same deer. Prince Jianping Hao was a well-known little overlord in Beijing. Relying on his ancestors' merits, he always acted rampantly, regardless of the consequences, and refused to suffer losses. At this time, it is naturally impossible for him to retreat. The two sides fought fiercely. However, in the end, not to mention the death at the hands of King Ning, Prince Jianping's horse was accidentally shot by a stray arrow, causing the prince to make a fool of himself and fall off the horse. When the prince was furious, he discovered that the arrow in his horse had the logo of King Ning's team. That's okay. He believed that King Ning did it on purpose. However, when questioned, Prince Ning not only denied it, but also insisted that the prince was framed because the deer was taken away by him. The little bully had never been so wronged before. In anger, he led his team and directly fought with King Ning's team. A gang fight? Both sides dare not shout and use weapons, but the battle with bare hands is actually greater. For a moment, birds and beasts ran away. There were hundreds of people on both sides, and this movement could spread to several hills. Not only were the surrounding imperial guards immediately alerted, but in fact, several other teams also heard the noise and couldn't help but come over here. But even though the Royal Forest Army broke up the fight in time, Prince Ning still relied on his superior force to catch Jianping Ho Shizi and beat him up. The little bully was directly slapped in the face, and he couldn't give up. The two sides fought again. The three teams just started tossing around. The point coin rewards from the last event have been distributed. Participating babies can pay attention to the credit of their own point coins. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 256. After all, there were too many people participating in the fight. Even though the Imperial Forest Army tried their best to break up the fight, it was still not easy. It wasn't until nearly 1,000 Imperial guards gathered nearby that the situation was barely brought under control. At that time, nearly 100 people in the two teams suffered severe injuries, including severed limbs, and countless others suffered losses. Even the Imperial guards who started the fight injured nearly 100 people. Prince Jianping's entire face was swollen by Prince Ning's beating. In this situation, how could he continue hunting, even if he asked to leave the paddock to find an explanation? Prince Ning was arrogant and refused to back down at all, indicating that the prince was overbearing and he would also ask Prince Hung to resolve the dispute. The men and horses on both sides kept struggling, and the Royal Forest Army could only lead them out of the paddock. With so many wounded people, the doctors in the paddock couldn't bear to see them, so they naturally had to be taken back to the palace to treat their injuries first. There were nearly 1,000 people on both sides, which triggered the riot control of nearly 2,000 royal guards and the nearby teams who came to watch the excitement. These people and horses headed towards the exit of the paddock. This was just the first day of hunting, and something like this happened. The emperor almost exploded when he heard this. He comes to hunt every year, and nothing like this has ever happened. When he received the news, he was told that this group of people would reach the exit in half an hour at most. How could the emperor have imagined that such a change would happen? With so many people, how could he stop them? So for the first time, the emperor, secretly cursing the unlucky man, could only rush to the exit of the paddock. No matter what, we cannot let these people come out. King Ning and his 2 teams alone have nearly 1,000 men and horses. There are too many people. Once so many people come out, it will be difficult for the emperor to carry out plans quietly. What if the other teams find it boring and quit because of them coming out again? The emperor has a headache. The Jianpinghao family is also an old clan, and there are many families who are close to them. When the time comes, don't let any more supporting teams appear to retreat together. Besides, there is also trouble with the Royal Forest Army. Originally, they were confined to the paddock, and nothing would happen to them. At this time, the emperor had replaced the palace guards with his personal guards. Even the imperial guards guarding the exit of the paddock had been temporarily replaced by his own people. Once the guards from the paddock come out, they will inevitably find that their brothers have been replaced. How could they not know that something happened in the palace? Then how can you handle this? The presidential leader of the Royal Forest Army was appointed by the late emperor and was not under the direct jurisdiction of the emperor. They were loyal to the imperial court, so the emperor felt that it was difficult to control them. Therefore, no matter from which point, the emperor had to stop this group of people. He immediately ordered people to bring the doctors and medicines near the palace into the paddock. He asked all the soldiers guarding the paddock to change into royal guard uniforms and ordered them to be on guard and never allow those people to leave the paddock. The emperor hid aside and watched the situation. Soon, a crowd of people densely packed with fruit and swearing appeared, and they were stopped by the emperor's people. To ensure justice, the paddock is closed before the time comes, and no one is allowed to enter or leave. Unexpectedly, neither Prince Jianping nor Prince Ning were fuel-efficient lamps. At this time, "Are you still forcing me to hunt?" Prince Jianping pointed at the swollen bumps on his face and the bloody corners of his mouth. "Let me go out, I have more important things to do regarding the matter, I am going to sue Prince Ning." Prince Ning crossed his arms and said, "I'm still afraid of you. I'm just afraid that you won't dare to file a complaint." Then let Prince Ning take a look at it. The prince walked out. When he saw the guard guarding the paddock dared to stop him, he punched him out. The unfortunate guard was knocked to the ground by his resentful punch. "If you don't let me go, I'll beat each one on sight." The guards refused to get out of the way, but instead blocked them all. While Prince Ning was sarcastic, the grumpy prince simply rolled up his sleeves, raised his fist and ordered the people behind him to do the same. The two sides argued and pushed each other, and the smell of gunpowder gradually became stronger. The emperor was so angry that he gritted his teeth. Only at this moment did he suddenly realize that there were not enough manpower. All his secret guards were in the capital, and his personal guards totaled less than 5,000 people. At this moment, his manpower was divided into many directions. In addition to guarding the palace and the paddock, the rest were deployed throughout the palace. Near the entrance of the paddock, he only had 1,000 people guarding him. Can these people control Prince Ning and Prince Jianping, who have lost their minds at this moment? He was not sure and became more and more unsure. He couldn't help but scolded the queen and those elders again. They were like gods of plague. He attacked Kaiokio at this critical moment, causing him to transfer so many masters. "Your Majesty, we need to quickly mobilize the rest of your personal guards and guard the paddock first. Someone spoke. When the emperor turned around, it was the imperial concubine who came. My dear concubine, why don't you come here to guard the main hall? The door of the main hall is locked. Those people were drugged again. There are people from the emperor guarding them. They can't get out. Don't be afraid. Taoran looked worried. When I heard about the situation here, I naturally came to share the emperor's worries. My beloved, just say so. The emperor was worried that no one would discuss it, but when Yu Tong came, he also wanted to hear her thoughts. They have too many people. The previous riot in the paddock probably alerted other teams in the paddock and the royal guards. If they are allowed to continue making trouble at the exit of the paddock, they will only alert more and more people in the paddock. After all, the hunt has only started 3 days ago. At this time, everyone has not gone far. If everyone is attracted, there will be tens of thousands of people in one paddock. Then it will be difficult to deal with. Taoran's words made the emperor frown even more tightly. So the emperor's top priority is to quickly mobilize a large number of personal guards. Either drive Prince Ning and his 2 teams back, or suppress them directly. In short, a quick victory is the best way. I think so too. The emperor secretly thought that the imperial concubine was from a military general family, and she pointed out the direction for him at the critical moment. It's just that I don't have enough personal guards. The emperor's personal guards mainly guard the palace gate, the paddock gate, and keep an eye on the people in the main hall. The 2 gates are crucial and cannot be missed, so these 2 places cannot be touched. But the emperor can completely control the more than 1,000 people guarding the main hall. The people were transferred here and used first. Everyone in the palace was drugged, and they couldn't even leave the main hall, let alone doing anything. There was no worries at all. Of course, if the emperor is worried, I will go directly to my brother who is stationed outside the palace. The concubine asked her brother to quietly mobilize a force of Jingui troops to help. The emperor just needs to give his concubines a handwriting to ensure that they can enter the palace smoothly. In this way, no one will be alarmed by the emperor, and the manpower will be enough. Very good. It is indeed a way, and it is also the best way at the moment. Yu Hong has been in Jingui for a while and has trained some people. It just came in handy this time. He is currently patrolling the outside of the palace with his people, and he can really ask him to send people to help. My beloved, go and ask Deputy Commander Yu to mobilize 1,000 people from the Jingui. No need to use hand instructions. I will give instructions and let them release the people from the Jingui later. Yes. My concubine, will come over right away. Taoran accepted the order and rolled his eyes the moment he got on his horse. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 257. The emperor moved most of his personal guard to the entrance of the enclosure. But he didn't expect that Prince Ning and Prince Jianping were on the same side, and the more they were stopped, the more they would not give up. In particular, Prince Ning was so abominable that he actually pointed at the emperor's personal soldiers at the exit and asked directly which team of the Royal Forest Army they belonged to, whose subordinates they were, and whose surname they were. Also, who is your leader? Call him over. Let that daring bitch come out and see me and the crown prince. We want to see which timid coward is so rampant, even both the prince and the prince dare to stop him. Prince Ning's roar was so penetrating that, coupled with the echo from the mountains, it could be heard far away. The emperor felt his eardrums hurt from the vibration, and his heart felt swollen and painful with anger. He was so angry. Who are you scolding? Who are you calling timid? Who are you calling a coward? Who are you calling a piece of shit? The majestic emperor did not dare to retaliate and show his face after being scolded like this. The emperor was so angry that his teeth ached, and he felt that he had lost all face and his reputation in front of his own bodyguards. He just wished he could go up and tear Prince Ning's mouth out with his own hands. This guy is usually low-key, and I thought he was honest, but I didn't expect him to turn out to be a twitchy lunatic. After being reminded by King Ning, the Imperial guards who had been maintaining order in the paddock also looked at each other. They felt strange just now. How come none of the brothers guarding the paddock looked familiar? Yes, remember Brother Zhang is leading the team at the exit. Where is Brother Zhang? Why don't you see anyone? There's something wrong with you. King Ning continued to be unwilling to give up. He stopped us and refused to let us out. He kept saying that he was doing things according to the rules. I ask you, who gave you the rules? Was it given by the Emperor or who gave it to you? If it is the Emperor's wish, where is the handwriting? The Emperor is hunting. When did such an order be issued to you? Also, you neither reported your home nor dared to invite the person in charge to come over. It's very strange. There is something wrong with you. Prince Jianping was also surprised, and suddenly felt that these guys were weird. He found that he didn't know this group of people either. Looking around, there was no one who looked familiar. This is not the case. At this moment, he was no longer busy arguing with Prince Ning. Instead, he took a few steps back and climbed up the tree. He picked up the clairvoyance and looked out. The palace grounds looked fine, but too deserted. There were very few guards on patrol, and there were no palace guests or guests coming and going. Is there really a problem? Chen Zhao, the deputy commander of the Yulin army who had been guarding the two groups of people, also discovered this. He could almost tell that the group of people guarding the paddock and wearing the armor of his own royal guards were not his own. Could something have happened? His heart was beating wildly, and he quickly signaled to his men to give the signal and asked the president of the Royal Forest Army 2 mountains away to come over quickly. Prince Ning was still aggressive. Why did you send out so many people? Why are you getting more and more manpower? In order to confine us in the paddock, do you have to work so hard? Could there be something wrong with the palace? The emperor was hiding behind a bush on the side. He was so angry that he just wanted to rush forward and pluck out Prince Ning's tongue with his own hands. If there was only King Ning in his group at this moment, he would have directly ordered them to be killed. But there are almost 3,000 people around King Ning at the moment, and he can't kill them. I've told you to take action as soon as we have all our men. The first target is Prince Ning. Capture that guy first. No one from him or his people will be spared. No matter whether it's an open or secret attack, Prince Ning must do it. Kill me first. On the other side, Prince Jianping was also panicked. Let me go out. His father is still in the palace. Faced with Prince Ning's questioning, the other party could not answer anything. From beginning to end, he only emphasized that they were acting under orders. It would be weird if there was no problem. The prince was impulsive and took action again. The guards, probably because they were too nervous, actually pulled out their swords this time. The prince subconsciously looked at Prince Ning. Draw your sword to stop him. Don't hesitate to commit the following crimes. They even confirmed that something happened in the palace. In fact, at this moment, the emperor's personal guards guarding the paddock were indeed getting more and more panicked. Because they found that a steady stream of imperial guards were coming. And a scene that made them collapse even more happened. Prince Ning, he actually took his flare and sent it out directly. A red firework exploded in the sky, leaving a long tail, so eye-catching. The signal is used in the paddock to call for help. Due to the large area of the paddock, each team is equipped with 3 flares to prevent danger, wild beasts, natural disasters, and other accidents. Once the signal reaches the sky, nearby hunting parties and forest troops will rush to help. But Prince Ning didn't stop there. Instead, he released all 3 flares in one go. The sky left a large patch of red. Not only that, he also dragged Prince Jianping away and said bluntly, "Big things are the most important thing. Subsequently, the prince's 3 flares were snatched away by Prince Ning. Immediately, 3 signals bloomed in the sky again. The number of signals is an indication of whether the situation is urgent or not. 3 flowers are extremely dangerous. At this moment, 6 flowers are lifted into the sky, which shows how dangerous it is. As soon as these signals are given, there is no doubt that at this moment, most people in the entire paddock, especially the royal guards, will rush over as quickly as possible. The emperor's face instantly became like the bottom of a pot. There are tens of thousands of people inside the paddock. So obviously, his first plan to quietly remove power from those old guys while they were hunting had basically failed due to lack of time. In this case, he could only proceed directly to the second plan. That is, taking everyone in the hall as pledge. No. Simply destroy them directly. While there's still time, don't stop doing anything, burn the fire, and leave him alone. When the people in the paddock come out, what can be said and what should be done? Won't they naturally be taken over by him by then? The emperor was determined and issued a direct order requiring all guards to continue to guard the entrance to the paddock and delay it at any cost. The emperor quickly jumped on his horse and rushed to the palace. He has to go to the next step of planning. He wants to go back to the main hall to take charge of the overall situation, and he wants to watch those old guys burn to death with his own eyes. I don't know if Yu Hong's people have been arranged in place. As he approached the main hall, he saw Yu Tong and Yu Hong talking in front of the main hall. Looking around, it can be seen that the well-trained officers and soldiers of the Beijing Guard brought by Yu Tong have now taken over the main hall, and a group of people are patrolling nearby. The emperor felt slightly relieved. Seeing the emperor coming, Yu and Tong came up to greet him. Yu Tong, don't worry, your majesty, everything has been done. Yu Hong, the Jingwei side knows nothing about the conditions of the paddock and the palace. The brothers brought by my subordinates are all trustworthy, absolutely usable, and will not leak any information. Well done, the emperor patted Yu Hong on the shoulder. After this incident, I will let you take over the entire Jingwei. But right now, I still have an important task that you need to do. The emperor was kind and amiable. Tao Ran squinted and saw it, knowing that the emperor was starting to have evil ideas again. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 258. Yu Hong respectfully said, Your Majesty just gives orders. There is some trouble with the Royal Forest Army. You have to help me run. The emperor took out something for personal protection from his clothes, which was obviously very solemn. Opening a dragon handkerchief, inside was a jade talisman covered with copper. On the front of the jade talisman was the word Yulin, which made Tao Ran's eyes light up. This is what the late emperor left to me. Although it is not like the tiger talisman that can command the imperial army, it can be used to summon the imperial army in critical moments. The emperor's brows were still frowning. Logically speaking, with this thing, he wouldn't have any worries. But in view of his earlier reputation, he was not sure whether this talisman alone could make the Imperial Guard obey, otherwise he would have taken it out long ago. Fortunately, he arranged for Father Yu. Take this talisman and hand it to the leader of the Imperial Army, President Min. Remember, you must be confident and use my name to severely suppress him by the late Emperor Taizha Taizong and others. There is no need to order him, but I only ask for one thing, the Imperial Forest Army will stay in the paddock for me today and cannot interfere in anything today. Tell them that if they don't obey, they will be disobedient and betray the entire royal family and the late emperor. They are all rebels. Tao Ran breathed out lightly. The emperor indeed has a trump card. He knew that the imperial guards had always had their own ideas, but his orders would not move. So he didn't want much. He didn't want to take over, he just wanted the imperial guards to be invisible and mind their own business. In front of everyone, once this token is issued, the Imperial Forest Army cannot disobey in public, right? Especially after moving out of the royal family and the late emperor. Therefore, there is a high probability that the Royal Forest Army will obey this order and stay in the paddock without taking action or interfering. In this way, without the Royal Forest Army, no matter how ferocious Prince Ning and the others are at this moment, they will only have just over 1,000 people. He who has the advantage in numbers suddenly becomes the emperor. There is no problem in taking them down quickly. What a good idea! After the emperor's important affairs were completed, no matter how capable Lord Min of the Royal Forest Army was, he could not do anything to the emperor without the backbone of the veterans of the imperial court, so he was naturally taken over by the emperor. The emperor was still patting Yu Hong on the shoulder. If this is the case, and Mr. Min still doesn't obey, you can give your father a signal. The emperor calculated that Father Yu would have to stand by his son and daughter when the time comes, and he would definitely speak for him. Your father is the chief trainer of the royal guards, and he has an extraordinary status in the royal guards. When conflicts and objections arise within the guards, it will be a matter that Commander Bulletin Min can decide alone. The emperor raised his eyebrows. Yu's father Yu Hong was of the same mind. When the time comes, General Yu, who has always been the most admired among the soldiers of this dynasty, will naturally be remembered. Even if they look at his face and the achievements of several generations of the Yu family, there must be some thin noodles from the Royal Forest Army. Once differences arise, no matter how tough Commander Min is, he can't just go his own way. Yu Hong, we don't need so many people here in the hall after all. He was going to set a fire. You have to be a little cautious. You take half of the people to the entrance of the paddock, which can be regarded as a backing, the emperor said with a kind face. This will be another insurance policy. After the Jingwei people are gone, can the Royal Forest Army directly engage them? With Yu Hong standing there on behalf of Jingwei, can the Imperial Guards attack directly upwards? Can Father Yu agree? Then, it's stable. The corners of the emperor's lips curled up. In the end, no matter what happened, the Imperial Guard could only stand there obediently. Of course, if he takes 10,000 steps back, no matter how stubborn Commander Min is, with Yu Hong and Yu's father delaying like this, he will have enough time left for him. What the emperor wants to ensure is that if the fire is set ablaze and the Imperial Guards cannot save it, then that's fine. Not difficult. Tao Ran looked at the emperor and finally understood what he was thinking. He really has done everything he can. No wonder he took the initiative to extend an olive branch early on, actively requesting and planning to help Yu Hong and Yu's father. He had already planned and made full use of his chess pieces. In fact, even if she hadn't asked Yu Hong to bring someone to the palace to help, the emperor would have done that, right? Tao Ran sneered. It was Yu Hong who led the troops to stop the Imperial Guards, and it was Yu's father who cooperated with his son to stop the Imperial Guards. After today, the palace hall will be burned down, the high officials in the court will die, and the Imperial Guards will fail in their duties. The blame will eventually fall on the Yu family. Not only is it a certainty, it's also impossible to argue with. With so many people testifying, the Yu family will never be able to stand up again. And these happen to be ironclad evidence of the Yu family's rebellion. In this way, he eliminated all the thorns in his eyes in one go, and he could capture the power in the court, the military power in the Yu family, and even the power in the Yulin army and Jingwei by himself. If he hadn't seen the plot and seen how this dog emperor eventually destroyed the world, Tao Ran would have felt like a powerful and strategic hero. Yu Hong took the order and gathered half of his men. Before leaving, he exchanged glances with Tao Ran and the two passed by. The emperor ordered his cronies to quickly arrange for the oil drums that had been prepared in the apse to prepare for ignition. Then, he signaled for someone to open the door of the main hall. Let him finally appreciate those good elders who have been arrogant over him, the emperor, for many years and have never let go of their hegemony. The emperor strode into the palace and left. Tao Ran followed him in and signaled for the door to be closed. The emperor smiled heartily. He was sure that this moment was the happiest time for him in so many years. But why are there only Prince Hung, the 4 ministers who care about life, and the old man of the Chen family in this palace? Where are the others? The emperor asked Tao Ran. I have been detained in the side hall. For more than half an hour before the emperor left, these old guys used their sharp tongues to make several officials who were about to surrender to the emperor change their minds. They scolded them so much that no one dared to raise their heads. At that time, I felt that it was not appropriate to put them together. In addition, the people from Jingui were coming to change the defense. I was afraid that they would talk nonsense again, so I simply separated them and blocked their mouths. Tao Ran said seriously. The reason for blocking the mouths of these old men is purely because they are too noisy, and also because they are afraid that they will not be able to think about anything and bite their tongues to commit suicide, that's all. The reason why the others were separated from these important ministers and dignitaries was for future planning. If your majesty needs it, may I ask someone to bring the others from the side hall? No need. The emperor had no doubts and didn't care. Originally, his targets were only these powerful old guys. In the side hall, he would go and take a look later, take away those who could be used, and deal with the rest with fire. A full set of acting. Since it is going to be burned, it is natural to burn the main palace of this palace. He had already thought about it. What happened today? He will rebuild the palace this year. Waiting for next autumn, he will bring Kyokyo to hunt. He will hold a special event and bring all the dignitaries in the capital to watch the fun. He will come and live in the palace he built for himself. He wants to make up for the regret of not succeeding in this hunt, and he also has to hold a birthday banquet in the palace. He wants everyone to see that he is the most noble emperor. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 259. The emperor was having sweet dreams and felt completely comfortable. I'm here to say goodbye to you all. He glanced at the stumbling blocks left by the fathers present and bowed to them. I'm sorry, everyone. Don't blame me for being vicious. I'm at my wit's end, but don't worry, after you go, I will leave you with enough dignity. The emperor prepared a lot of ridicule and sarcasm, intending to appreciate the hateful look of these people, but before he could say a few words, he vaguely heard his confidant father-in-law outside humming something like report, and then there was no movement. He asked, but there was no answer. He walked to the window and saw no one outside. He almost thought he was hallucinating. However, when he looked up, he was stunned. He saw dense crowds of people visible in the distance in the direction of the paddock. Although I can't see clearly who he is, the color of his clothes, is he a member of the Royal Forest Army? Impossible. He had several backup plans, and he tried to defend against them. It was impossible for the Imperial Guards to come over. He took out the clairvoyance in his sleeve that he had just used not long ago and looked at it carefully, listened attentively, and then his face became darker and darker. In the distance, there was the sound of fighting. And the dark people pushing towards the palace are not the Imperial Guards? They have already broken through? The emperor didn't understand. How is that possible? Yu Hong gave the jade pendant as a gift, how could they push forward so quickly? When the man named Min saw the jade pendant, even if he didn't recognize it, he should have held it for a while. The emperor couldn't help but murmur. None of his backup plans came to fruition? Impossible. It stands to reason that even if the personal guards carry it hard, they can still block it for a quarter of an hour. At least we have to wait for him to light the fire. Someone. Set fire. Get ready to set fire. Are you ready? The emperor was anxious and rushed to the door of the palace, only to find that the door could not be opened. He couldn't believe it and pushed twice more. As a result, the main hall door remained motionless. Outside, it's locked. Outside the palace, no one answered him at all. At that moment, the emperor's legs went weak. The emperor staggered back to the window and found that the window he had just opened was also locked. He locked them up before, but now, he is the one being locked up. How ridiculous. Through the crack in the window, he saw a person flashing past 30 feet away. Was he dazzled? Is that Yu Hong? Yu Hong, Yu Hong. Where's the token? The emperor roared. But no one answered. Did he see it wrong? Tong Tong, we are locked. The emperor looked at his imperial concubine. Oh, Tao Ran couldn't help laughing. We. Are you sure it's we? Tong Tong, help me open this door quickly. He couldn't open the palace door, but the imperial concubine certainly could. The emperor was anxious, but this time he didn't get an answer from the imperial concubine. He was about to curse angrily, but Yu Tong said, Your Majesty, stop shouting. What's going on? Isn't it obvious? Tao Ran returned the emperor's original words when he provoked everyone. The emperor turned around subconsciously, and then the question got stuck in his throat. What did he see? His imperial concubine was playing with a small thing in her hand at the moment. Isn't that thing his token? He might admit his mistake in others, but he has treasured this one for many years. Even the queen doesn't know this thing exists. His token is actually in Yu Tong's hand. He was cold all over. So Yu Hong has no token at all. So, there was no one from the Royal Forest Army to suppress them. The situation at this moment is still that there are 6 fireworks in the sky, and a steady stream of forest guards are rushing out of the paddock. So what he saw was true. Prince Ning and the Imperial Forest Army were already here. At this moment, the emperor almost went crazy. He didn't have time to think about how the token got into Yu Tong's hands, nor did he think about what Yu Tong was doing. He just rushed towards Yu Tong like crazy. Bring it. Give it to me. Good. Yu Tong was quite happy. Your Majesty, please slow down, I'll give it to you. She stretched out her hand and handed it out. The emperor reached out and grabbed it. But when his fingers touched the token, his knee felt painful. Not only did he fail to catch the token, he even knelt down on the ground. The slightest difference is a missed opportunity. Hate it? Just like today's big plan, it was just a little short of the last bit, and then it became a failure. The emperor no longer knew which one hurt more, his heart or his knees. He hugged his knee that seemed to be cracked and stared at Yu Tong fiercely. Just now, it was her. She suddenly kicked Yanji and pushed Yanji into his knees. Tao Ran's smile suddenly deepened again, and then he gathered strength in his right hand and started to circulate his internal energy. Under the gaze of the emperor, he directly smashed the cards on the banquet table in front of him. The emperor didn't even have time to shout to stop. There was a pop sound. There was a cracking sound. The emperor forgot about the pain in his knees and rushed forward to grab him. But what he caught in his hands? Only the copper-clad outer ring of the token is still connected. The jade embedded in the token is not torn apart, but broken into pieces that can never be put back together. My token. Tao Ran raised his eyebrows. Without the token, he no longer had the confidence to finally stop the Royal Forest Army. The Emperor lost. Your Majesty is so scary. What are you doing? If you want it, tell me, I won't give it to you. What token do you mean? Where is the token here? Where did I get the token from? Since I can't put it back together, I can't see the word Yulin originally engraved on the front of the token and the words signed by the late emperor on the back. Then this is naturally not a token. Since she can't be sure that this is a token, what's her fault for smashing it? How could the emperor prove that what she just smashed was the token given by the late emperor? Taoran smiled brightly. What's wrong, your majesty? This is the copper ring that I play with every day. Do you like it? Then I'll give it to you. The emperor's face instantly became ferocious. At this moment, he understood. All his plans are fine, except for one thing, just one thing, the imperial concubine. He had done all the calculations and only missed Yutong. She was the person he had never expected, the woman he had given the most love to, spent the most time on, and made Kyokia cry a lot over the years. But such a woman actually betrayed him. He had always given her the greatest tolerance. He even wanted to spare her life for the sake of old friendship, thinking that he would still give her a position in the future, take care of her, and let her still be by his side, but she actually, unexpectedly betrayed yourself. How can I feel sorry for her? Bitch! How dare you betray me? How dare you attack me? The emperor was furious and stretched out his hands, trying to strangle Yutong's neck. Taoran didn't move. Because as soon as the emperor got up, he fell down again. His knees hurt. What nonsense are you talking about, your majesty? When did I, my concubine, take action against you? It was obviously you who accidentally wanted to snatch my concubine's copper ring, and you hit the table. She did not bear any responsibility. With so many witnesses watching, you can't make false accusations against me. He's so angry. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 260. Come here, the emperor was completely panicked. This time, still no one answered him. The emperor gritted his teeth and glanced at everyone present, and finally his eyes were fixed on Prince Hung, who was nearest to him. He pulled out the dagger from his waist and rushed towards Prince Hung. This is his last chance. He captured Prince Hung as a hostage and looked for an opportunity to escape. If that doesn't work, then he will kill Prince Hung first to vent his hatred. Ken. What the hell? Seeing that he had caught Prince Hung's sleeve, he fell to the ground again. From behind him, another plane flew over and hit his other back knee hard. Who did it? Needless to say. Besides him and Yutong, who else in this room doesn't have traditional Chinese medicine? Besides Yutong, who else has such strength? Who else dares to fight him directly? The emperor suddenly shuddered. Yutong pushed the machine twice, causing him pain as if his bones were cracking, which was obviously caused by internal force. She can use kung fu, so her body is in good shape? Didn't she always complain about illness? Didn't she say that her internal injuries were not healed and she couldn't even run? So, has she been lying to herself? The emperor felt that he was the one who was really hurt internally. In vain, he always thought that he acted well, but in reality it was always a two-person show. And in the end, the clown is actually him, the emperor who thinks he is the mastermind. I feel like vomiting. The emperor's knees were wounded. He was completely exhausted. He hated his posture at this moment, but no matter how hard he tried, he just couldn't stand up and remained kneeling. The adults understood the imperial concubine's intentions and looked at her with a little more respect. The imperial concubine did it on purpose. The emperor was treasonous and unethical. He was sorry for the late emperor and everyone here. The late emperor did the right thing. If there were no veteran ministers here, he would have been unable to maintain a stable dynasty for a declining prince who grew up in a secluded house, was not familiar with the world, and received little education. They tried their best to help, but he was ungrateful and repaid kindness with hatred. He should kneel. The righteousness of the imperial concubine is amazing. As expected of a descendant of the general's mansion, he was unmoved by his own interests. When faced with further opportunities, he chose the side of justice without hesitation. Such a big deal is also admirable. If she can turn the tide today, the imperial concubine will do a great job. If they can get out of trouble, they will never forget the imperial concubine's life-saving grace. Tao Ran saw everyone's expressions in his eyes. Hey! If it hadn't been to gain the respect and goodwill of this group of people, if it hadn't been for them to see her credit for reversing the situation by herself, if it hadn't been for them to maximize their gratitude to her, she wouldn't have waited until now. Could she have solved it when the Emperor came just now? She just wanted to keep the lives of these old guys hanging by a thread. She only took action when she thought it was difficult to escape. Only after they survived the disaster would they know how to repay their kindness. With so many lives owed to them, they had the nerve to treat her benefactor so badly. Later, when she asks to be the Queen Mother, they will be shameless to refuse, and then they will help her think of a reasonable name, right? In the future, when she leaves and Yutong comes back, if there are unscrupulous people who want to harm Yutong again, with so many favors owed, they can always help her to avoid disaster, right? Tao Ran snapped his fingers, and Ji Xiang Ruyi came forward, untied the adults present one by one, and removed the gags from their mouths. Although the adults didn't quite understand the whole story, they all stood up and thanked Tao Ran. Tao Ran returned the gift generously and smiled at Prince Hung. I saved the prince twice, remember, there are 2 lives. Prince Hung made another fist salute. I dare to ask the queen, at this moment. Everyone looked outside. What is the situation outside? The emperor was furious again, but no one paid attention to him. Is everyone looking outside? Once again, everyone ignored him. Why? Why is it that no matter whether he does good or bad things, he is not seen by everyone? Help me up! Help me up, the emperor roared, you rebels and traitors. But everyone was worried about the situation outside, and how could they care about the emperor? Outside, His Highness Prince Ning is leading people to clean up the mess. In order to highlight Prince Ning, Tao Ran deliberately did not mention the names of other people, including his brother. Prince Ning. Several veterans looked at each other. It's actually him. After a long time, the effects of the medicine have reduced a lot and everyone can move around freely. They walked to the window and looked out through the slightly opened crack. There is no doubt that King Ning is. At this moment, the people led by King Ning were cooperating with the Beijing Guards and Yulin army to deal with the emperor's personal guards. Prince Ning's martial arts skills are so good, like a crescent moon among the stars, he attracts so much attention in the crowd. Several veterans saw this and sighed. The emperor was very excited. Although he could not stand up, he heard the sound of fighting outside. King Ning? What does this matter have to do with King Ning? King Ning? Wrong. He finally understood. No wonder, for a good hunt, Prince Ning, a low-key person, would provoke him with all his strength. No wonder it was such a big deal that Prince Ning caused a group fight and alarmed so many imperial guards. No wonder there were so many teams, but he chose Jianping Ho Shizi, a famous dandy in the capital, because only this overlord could be provoked by him and easily start fighting with him. The emperor was shocked. So, Prince Ning hooked up with Yutong early in the morning? The emperor was so horrified that he didn't know what to say. With all kinds of depressed and angry emotions, he couldn't wait to go up and skin the woman who took up most of his love and time. Have you been pretending to be sick? Nature. Just for today. No, Tao Ran squatted in front of the emperor. Because I don't want to go to bed. Because it's disgusting. This reason obviously irritated the emperor even more. Bitch, the emperor slapped him with his paw. Tao Ran dusted off his sleeves. Not only was his hand empty, but the back of his hand was also red. Why? I treat you so well. Because you're a scumbag, Tao Ran didn't bother to explain. Scum, this word is enough. Yutong, give me. The emperor talks too much, Tao Ran interrupted with a sneer, Look outside. When did you care so much about me? Instead of asking the truth, why not take a look at the scenery outside? Taoran gave the signal to go down, and after a few breaths, the hall door lock made a sound. The door was opened. But only a crack was opened. The emperor could see the outside, but he couldn't see the inside clearly from the outside. There was only a gap as wide as a hand. When the fight outside had come to an end, the emperor saw Prince Ning, who was blocking from left to right. Bitch! How dare you harm me? How dare you collude with Prince Ning to harm me? But in a blink of an eye, the emperor saw Yu Hong leading his personal guards, and saw Yu Fu leading the imperial guards. And they, like King Ning, were fighting with his own soldiers. The number of his own soldiers was not large, and because they were scattered in several places, it was impossible for them to be their opponents under the encirclement, so they retreated almost step by step, and the defeat was clear. You also colluded with the Jingui and the Yulin army. You all want to harm me. The emperor almost wanted to vomit blood when he said this. He suddenly remembered that it was him who arranged Yu Hong's entry into the Imperial Guard, and his own design for Yu's father's entry into the Imperial Guard. It was he who gave the meat to the weasel himself.